What's up? My name is Eric Butler. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back, and from the New York Post, diversity director fired for questioning California colleges' anti-racism policies, she claims. So they could have saved themselves the headache by not creating this incredibly useless position, but here we are. They say, a black director of a woke California college's Office of Equity, Social Justice, and Multicultural Education. And there you go, right there. You were setting yourself up for failure with an Office of Equity, Social Justice, and Multicultural. I mean, that's a mess. It's a problem waiting to happen, right? Because these people are always going to eat their own, right? You can agree with 99 out of 100 of their talking points, but if you don't agree with one, it's a problem. And they're very mad at you. She was fired for questioning the institution's anti-racism orthodoxy and what the term anti-racism even means. And I think we're all asking ourselves that, right? These people will manipulate and bastardize the language until none of it has any meaning. But from where I'm sitting, anti-racism just means foisting your racism upon another group, and they're constantly screaming, well, maybe not so much anymore, but a year or two ago, we used to always hear about prejudice plus power. They jump through all these hoops, all this mental gymnastics to make sure, just like with every other talking point, their only goal is for you to obey. It's 100 different ways to the same goal of you just capitulating to their every whim. Dr. Tabia Lee said De Anza College, a community college in Cupertino, retaliated after she objected to several campus policies aimed at inclusion. And, no shade here, but we're not talking about a high-level Ivy League school. Of course, none of the tests, there's no merit anymore. It's all about diversity and inclusion all the way up the ladder. But now it's at community college. I mean, what difference does it make, right? Again, I'm not trying to shade anybody at these colleges, but anybody can go, right? So at these higher level colleges, they throw that stuff out the window where you used to have a good test scores, extracurriculars, all that stuff. Now you don't even need that. You just need to be a certain color and they let you in. But what does it really matter at a community college? You go there, and if you want to keep going to school for whatever reason, and you probably shouldn't, then you continue on to a 4-year college. Like, what does it really matter? What are they foisting all this? What are they're forcing and foisting all of this orthodoxy, as she says, down the throats of people when it really doesn't even apply? I was working in a California community college, and I noticed that there was a lot of resistance to my even asking questions about anti-racism, policy efforts, and language, Lee told nonprofit Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism. Now, that seems like a shakedown grievance organization, but what happened here is they hired this woman to toe the line and push the agenda, and she questioned it, right? And she might be completely woke. Well, not completely, not 100%, but 99% is still not enough. Like I said, you could agree with all but one, 99 out of 100 of their talking points, but that one is going to get you thrown out. And she kind of brought it on herself also, right? Did you apply for this position not knowing what you were going to do, or were you trying to red pill them from the inside out? What was actually happening? Did they not tell you they were hiring for a diversity and inclusion officer? I mean, how did it even get to this point? Now, like I said, the school could have saved themselves the entire headache by not even having this, but they can't stop. They can't help themselves. And I assume there's nobody there who really wants to do this. It's coming down from somewhere. There is a man behind the curtain making this happen, all the way down to, every single thing. The climate agenda, the radical gender theory, all of this stuff is coming from the same blob, the same establishment. If those people didn't have their hands in everything, then even with Rona, right? Nobody would think, oh, well, all of my friends are just dropping like flies. I wonder what happened. No, it's because the powers that be are forcing it or pushing it in your face at every possible turn. So it seems like it's real, but it's not. It's completely astroturf. It continues. And I just purely wanted to know what folks meant when they were using those terms. And I encountered a lot of hostility and a lot of resistance to me even asking questions. Yeah, because you're not supposed to ask questions. You're just supposed to accept it. You're just supposed to obey. A shout out to Shepard Fairey, who used to be anti-establishment, and then he started shilling for the political establishment. But of course, that is a different story. She told Higher Ed she was canned after declining to join a socialist network, objected to the college's land acknowledgments for an indigenous tribe and questioned why the word black was capitalized but not white. And me and Andrew talked about that recently on the Unauthorized Opinions podcast, which you can catch on this channel every single Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. But yes, why are they? And I posed that question. Why are they capitalizing black but not white? And they must have been so surprised that the woman they hired, the woman of color that they hired to push this narrative, didn't do it. They must be kicking themselves. And it does beg the question, why did she even apply? It actually seems kind of based. Like she wanted to let them know that it was all nonsense from the inside out. And kudos to her if that was the case. Additionally, okay, so there's a typo here. The post has been getting a little sloppy recently. I noticed there's been some typos in a handful of their articles recently. Lee said she refused to use the gender-neutral terms like Latinx, Philippines, what in the world? Because of her belief they only fuel racism. Wow, you had a based diversity and inclusion officer, and now you're mad about it. Based diversity and inclusion officer. Wow, what an oxymoron. But they were surprised that this woman of color with possibly purple hair from the picture didn't capitulate to every single one of their demands. That must have blown their mind. I find that the same toxic ideologies around race ideologies are now being advanced under gender ideologies, Lee said, according to the outlet. I also find that the constant obsession with pronouns and declaration of pronoun causes deep discomfort for individuals who identify as gender fluid or who struggle with gender dysphoria. A colleague of Lee's also accused the black faculty member of white-speaking, white-splaining, and supporting white supremacy. Of course, a black woman questioned one of your narratives and is immediately accused of white supremacy and white speaking. I mean, these people are just despicable. The snake eats its own tail. They always eat their own without fail. And that is because all of their talking points, all of their agenda, all of their narrative, when followed to their logical conclusion, will undoubtedly come in direct conflict with another one of their agendas and another one of their talking points every single time. The school has a very different reason for firing Lee, however. In a letter obtained by Higher Ed, District Chancellor Judy Minor wrote, Lee showed a persistent inability to demonstrate cooperation in working with colleagues and staff and unwillingness to accept constructive criticism. Yeah, so that's two sides of the same coin, right? Because they're going to say that, she didn't capitulate. And we have been told time and time again that, a person of color can do no wrong, right? Oh, you don't have, if you're white, you can't say what racism is, right? If you're not a doctor, then you can't have an opinion on Rona. If you're not a woman, you can't have an opinion on, binning the baby. But then we also don't know what a woman is. And that's just an example of how every single one of their talking points immediately will crash head on with another one of their talking points. And this is a tweet, I guess, from Tabby Ali from Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism, or FAIR, how clever. When I began to question certain DEI initiatives in my workplace, FAIR was instrumental in protecting me so I could continue to serve our California community colleges and keep them safe spaces for academic freedom and freedom of expression. Wow, this is really weird. There is a based, as the kids like to say, diversity and inclusion faculty member who was fired for not towing the line. This timeline is absolutely insane. De Anza College voted Tuesday not to reemploy Lee, who started at the school in 2021 for the next academic year. Lee claims she felt backlash from administrators shortly after she started the position. They finally saw a reason to fire her when she published a February 18 essay in the Journal of Free Black Thought, stating, under the banner of diversity, equity, inclusion efforts in many learning environments, a neo-reconstructionist, racist orthodoxy has emerged that actively works to suppress and exclude alternative frameworks, methods, and means for dealing with American educators' racist problems. The school did not immediately return a request for comment. So it sounds like they hired a woman to toe the line, and she actually kind of kept it real. And she fired back at for lack of a better term, the reverse racism that happens where, they start raking a certain group over the coals and calling it anti-racism. So I guess this woman is actually doing the right thing. My mind is blown because it seems But the pendulum has to swing back eventually, right? We see every single day that every single thing can be blamed on racism or white supremacy and prejudice plus power, all this stuff. And then this woman comes in and says, hold on, you guys need to pump the brakes. You've taken a little bit too far, like they do with every single thing. And then they fire her, even though she is supposed to, she was supposed to be the one. She was kind of supposed to be their enforcer. She was kind of supposed to take it even further, right? She was supposed to blame everything on white people and said, nah, we're not really going to do it that way. And they got rid of her. So shout out to this lady. This timeline is crazy, but you can see that it's the pendulum is, in fact, I believe, starting to swing back. We just saw another story of parents in California mad that they forced some high school kids to a drag show at an assembly. So people are really starting to wake up to this, and they don't want it anymore. So thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe.